Let's be honest, this isn't how you imagined this stage of life would feel. There were no warnings, no headlines. Just one morning you look in the mirror and realize something's different. Not just the wrinkles, not the gray hair, but a feeling that your body doesn't respond the way it used to. That something quietly faded, your strength, your drive, and even your desire for connection. I'm Dr. James Walker, a men's health expert with over 30 years of experience helping men reclaim what they thought was lost forever: vitality, performance, and a deeper sense of intimacy. Here's the truth. It's not always about age. Recently, a patient named Robert, 69, came to my clinic. He used to be a high school gym coach, active, confident, but lately he felt like he was slowly losing control over his body, his energy, and even his private life. After running several tests, nothing serious came up. Not the heart, not the hormones. But one thing stood out: poor circulation in the lower body, especially in the legs and pelvic area. Studies published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine show that reduced blood flow in the legs is directly linked to weakened male intimacy and energy. When key muscles like the glutes and hamstrings lose tone, natural blood flow slows, silently draining vitality and confidence. But here's the good news: it's reversible. No heavy medication, no expensive procedures, just the right movements, simple, age-appropriate, and designed specifically to reactivate those dormant pathways. Today I'll guide you through exactly that, from a gentle 3-minute stretch that's transforming the lives of thousands of men, to a practical strategy for regaining strength where it matters most. You're not alone. If any part of this speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, but you're curious about staying strong and connected, type 0. I read every response. Before we begin, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You don't want to miss the health tips that could change your life in small, powerful ways. Now let's begin where your circulation first starts to slow: your legs. Because when it comes to better intimacy, it doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts with the muscles that quietly control your blood flow. Let me ask you this: when was the last time you felt truly grounded in your body? For many men over 60, it's not just energy or drive that quietly slip away. It's something deeper. The sense of control, of responsiveness, of being fully alive in one's own skin. After speaking with hundreds of patients, I've come to believe that this isn't a matter of willpower or even aging alone. It's circulation. Specifically, poor blood flow to the lower body, and it often begins without warning. That subtle disconnect between mind and body, that's not your imagination. It's your muscles and blood vessels falling silent after years of being underused. One of my recent patients, Alan, a retired naval engineer, age 72, came to see me after noticing what he called a dull quietness in his legs and a gradual dimming in intimacy. "I didn't feel broken," he said, "just faded." Tests showed no major disease. His heart was strong. Hormones were borderline normal, but what stood out was sluggish venous return, meaning his blood wasn't making the full trip back, from the legs and pelvis to the heart. This is where most men miss the mark. They try pills, supplements, and even intense workouts, but overlook one of the body's most vital pumps, the soleus muscle, buried deep in the calf. Unlike most muscles, the soleus is uniquely designed to operate during sitting and standing. In fact, research from the University of Houston shows that activating the soleus improves glucose metabolism, oxygenation, and systemic circulation, without raising heart rate or requiring intense exertion. Think of it as your second heart. When gently engaged, the soleus acts as a vascular piston, sending blood upward from your legs and pelvis, reaching the very vessels that nourish reproductive function and vitality. And the best part? You can trigger this mechanism right from your chair. Here's a gentle way to do it. Sit with your back tall and feet flat on the floor. Now slowly lift your heels while keeping your toes grounded. Hold for a second, then lower. Repeat this motion steadily for 30-60 seconds. You might feel just a light contraction in the calf, but what you're really doing is signaling your circulatory system to wake up. I often recommend doing this twice daily. perhaps while watching TV, reading, or even during a phone call. Some men report feeling a slight warmth in the feet, a light tingling near the groin, and even stronger, morning firmness within 2 weeks. Why? Because when you restore flow, you restore function. Blood is life. It carries nutrients, hormones, and oxygen. And when that flow improves, so does sensation, confidence, and overall energy. This isn't just about physical performance. Circulation has deep ties to emotional well-being. Studies published in Frontiers in Psychology have found that men with better vascular health report higher scores in self-esteem, relationship satisfaction, and purpose-driven motivation. In short, how your blood moves affects how you move through life. So if you've been feeling disconnected, not just from your partner but from yourself, know that you're not stuck. You're not broken. You're simply out of rhythm. And sometimes restoring that rhythm starts with a subtle movement in your legs. Now let's move forward. Because once we reawaken the soleus and lower body flow, we can begin to activate deeper pelvic support muscles, the hidden allies of male strength and stamina. That transformation starts in the next step. If you're still with me, it tells me something important. You're not just interested in learning, you're ready to take ownership of your health. So let me introduce the next movement that has quietly restored confidence for many of my patients. It targets the muscles most men never think about, until they begin to lose control over them. After we reawaken circulation through the soleus, the next step is to address the foundation beneath it all, the pelvic floor. And no, this isn't just about bladder control or physical therapy for women. The male pelvic floor is one of the most overlooked sources of strength, stamina, and intimacy, yet its decline often goes undetected. One of my longtime patients, Michael, 68, a retired airline pilot, came to me with a complaint that many men quietly carry: diminished control and waning confidence during intimate moments. Everything still worked, he said, just not like it used to. And I didn't feel like me. There was no major hormonal imbalance. His cardiovascular scans were clean. But when we evaluated pelvic strength and muscle responsiveness, it was clear his foundation was weakening. Here's the science. The pelvic floor is a hammock-like network of muscles that spans the base of the pelvis, supporting not only the bladder and bowel, but also contributing directly to erectile firmness and control. According to research in the British Journal of Urology International, strengthening these muscles can significantly improve both urinary and sexual function in men over 60, without medication or surgery. The good news? You can begin rebuilding that strength with a movement known as the pelvic bridge. Simple, slow, and surprisingly powerful. Here's how it works. Lie on your back on a mat or firm surface. Knees bent, feet flat on the ground, arms resting gently by your sides. As you exhale, lift your hips toward the ceiling, forming a straight line from your shoulders to your knees. But this isn't just about lifting your hips. The magic happens in the subtle engagement. As you rise, gently squeeze the muscles between your tailbone and your scrotum, that deep center of your pelvic floor. Hold for 5 seconds while keeping your breath steady and your core aligned. Then slowly lower back down. Aim for 10 to 15 repetitions. It's okay if the first few feel awkward or weak. Most men haven't consciously activated these muscles in decades. Over time, you may notice improvements not just in intimacy, but also in posture, bladder control, and overall pelvic alignment. Some men report waking up with firmer erections, a stronger lift in their stride, and even more ease during bathroom routines. Why? Because you're no longer leaking energy from your base, you're reclaiming it. What's equally fascinating is the mental shift that often follows. There's something deeply empowering about reconnecting with a part of yourself you thought was fading. Restoring pelvic floor strength isn't just physical, it rebuilds self-respect and quiet confidence. It's the kind of change that shows up in how you walk, how you breathe, how you show up for your partner. Now let's move forward. Because once the pelvic floor is engaged, we begin unlocking another critical system, your inner thigh muscles, often called the adductors. These control core balance, mobility, and sensory connection. But that's a story for the next step. Now that we've reconnected with the deeper foundation of the pelvic floor, it's time to unlock another set of muscles that are often forgotten, but absolutely vital for both stability and intimacy. The inner thighs. Most men don't think of their inner thighs when discussing strength, circulation, or even sexual function, but in truth, these muscles, known anatomically as the adductors, are one of the most underappreciated links between physical control and emotional connection. And when they weaken, which naturally happens with aging, prolonged sitting, or a sedentary lifestyle, everything downstream begins to shift, sometimes literally. Take Ronald, 74, a retired carpenter. He came to me complaining of instability when getting out of bed and a growing sense of disconnection during moments of closeness with his partner. His blood work was clean. His cardiovascular numbers were stable. But physically, his pelvis was slightly tilted and his inner thighs showed reduced tone and activation. That might sound minor, but it's not. The inner thigh muscles help stabilize the pelvis, support blood flow to the groin, and even influence pelvic nerve sensitivity, all crucial for male function and physical balance. And here's the best part. You don't need a gym or any fancy equipment to bring them back online. All you need is a pillow or even a rolled-up towel. Here's a powerful yet simple way to engage those muscles from home. Sit tall on a firm chair with your feet flat on the ground, knees bent at a 90-degree angle. Place a pillow, soft ball, or rolled towel between your knees. Relax your hands on your thighs. Now gently press your knees inward, squeezing the object firmly, but not forcefully. Hold for 5 seconds. Breathe. Then slowly release. You'll feel the activation along your inner thighs and possibly a mild engagement in your lower abdomen or pelvic floor. That's exactly where you want the connection. Repeat this 10 to 15 times for 2 or 3 sets. You can do this while watching TV, listening to music, or even during a call. It's subtle, but trust me, it's powerful. What makes this movement so important isn't just muscle activation, it's what it triggers. When the inner thighs contract, they stimulate circulation through the pelvic region, helping deliver oxygen and nutrients to tissues responsible for erection quality and hormonal balance. They also reinforce the alignment of the hips and spine, key factors for posture, balance, and mobility in older age. In fact, a recent study in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that strengthening the adductors improved both postural, control, and pelvic muscle coordination in older adults. That translates not only to reduced fall risk, but also to more presence and responsiveness during intimate moments. Many of my patients describe this simple habit as a quiet reset. After a few weeks of consistent practice, they feel more aligned, more stable, and more there, physically and emotionally. They often report stronger footing, better balance, and yes, deeper connection during intimacy. Now let's move forward. Because now that we've restored interstructural support, it's time to bring in mobility, to reawaken the hips, restore flexibility, and expand circulation across the lower body. The next movement opens up the flow that aging slowly tries to close, and it might surprise you just how much it can shift everything. Now that we've awakened the deeper structures of your body, from pelvic floor to inner thigh, it's time to bring everything into motion. Movement isn't just about exercise, it's about liberation of blood flow, flexibility, and the quiet confidence that comes when your body no longer resists itself. As we age, one of the earliest and most silent changes happens in the hips. It's rarely sudden. It starts with a stiffer gait, a shorter stride, or a slight pull in your lower back when standing up. But what hides beneath that stiffness is more than just tight joints. It's restricted circulation, particularly in the pelvic region. Think of your hips as a traffic junction. Almost every important system for vitality, nerve signals, blood vessels, muscular coordination, passes through this intersection. And when that junction tightens, everything slows, including the flow of blood to the organs responsible for intimacy, balance, and full-body energy. One of my patients, Franklin, 70, a former jazz pianist, came to me frustrated by a sense of numbness in motion. He could still walk, still move, but felt increasingly rigid and disconnected from his lower body. His frustration wasn't about pain, it was about a loss of flow. We introduced a simple movement that changed everything: standing hip circles. Here's how to begin. Stand beside a sturdy surface, a table, a countertop, or the back of a chair, something you can rest a hand on for balance. Keep your feet shoulder-width apart, spine tall but relaxed. Shift your weight gently to your left leg. Now, lift your right knee just a few inches off the ground. No need for height. This is not about power, but control. Then, as if your knee were drawing a small circle in the air, begin a slow, steady rotation. Forward, up, out, and down. Imagine tracing a coin-sized loop. Do this 10 times in one direction, then reverse for 10 more. Keep the movement small and precise. Avoid twisting your torso or arching your lower back. Then switch to the other leg and repeat. At first, you may feel your hips warm, your thighs engage, and even a light pull through the lower back or groin. These are good signs, indicators that blood is moving, joints are unlocking, and nerves are re-engaging. Scientific studies, including one published in Geriatrics and Gerontology International, have shown that targeted hip mobility drills can increase both dynamic balance and regional circulation in older adults, reducing fall risk and enhancing neuromuscular responsiveness. And when blood flow improves in the pelvic region, many men report stronger sensation, quicker arousal, and greater physical confidence in intimate moments. Franklin, after just 2 weeks of daily practice, described it beautifully. It was like the music came back to my movement. Everything felt smoother. His stride lengthened, his posture relaxed, and most importantly, he reconnected with a part of himself he thought had faded. This movement isn't just for the hips. It's for your sense of control, your rhythm, and your dignity. Now let's move forward, because now that your lower body is mobile and alive again, it's time to unlock something even more overlooked, yet absolutely essential for vitality and intimacy: your breath. You'll be surprised just how much power you've been holding back in the way you breathe. By now, you've reawakened your lower body, from the pelvic floor to your hips, and movement is flowing again. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful drivers of blood flow, vitality, and intimacy isn't a muscle at all? It's your breath. Most men over 60 breathe too shallow, too fast, and too high in the chest. It's subtle. But this kind of breathing, triggered by decades of stress, posture decline, and habit, keeps the nervous system locked in a low-grade, fight-or-flight state. It narrows blood vessels, lowers oxygen delivery, and reduces the natural release of hormones that support arousal and emotional openness. That's why diaphragmatic breathing, or belly breathing, is a game-changer. It doesn't require equipment, just awareness. And it taps into your vagus nerve, the powerful communicator between your brain, heart, and reproductive system. One of my patients, Edward, 67, a retired civil engineer, described himself as constantly wired but disconnected. He had no major heart condition, no sleep disorder, but he felt exhausted and emotionally shut down. When I observed his breathing, it was classic chest dominant, short, shallow, and rigid. We started daily diaphragmatic practice, and within a week his words were, "I didn't know stillness could feel this alive." So here's how you can start. Sit comfortably in a chair, spine upright, feet flat on the ground. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Inhale slowly, through your nose for a count of 4, focusing on expanding your belly, not your chest. You'll feel the lower hand rise while the top hand remains nearly still. Now exhale gently through your mouth for a count of 6, as if blowing through a straw. Let your belly fall naturally. That's one full breath. Repeat this cycle 10 times, twice a day. Morning sessions help activate your system. Evening sessions calm your nerves and prepare your body for restorative sleep. Why does this matter? Because nasal breathing stimulates nitric oxide production, a molecule essential for vasodilation, meaning better blood flow where you need it most. Studies in the Journal of Physiology show that nitric oxide plays a critical role in erectile function and healthy blood pressure regulation. And when cortisol drops through slower breathing, testosterone has more room to function properly. Diaphragmatic. Breathing also signals safety to the brain. When your body feels safe and fully oxygenated, desire returns, not in a forced way, but naturally. Emotionally, this kind of breath reconnects you to presence. And presence, as we know, is the foundation of true intimacy. Men like Edward often report feeling more grounded, more open to connection, and even more spontaneous after practicing this daily. It's not about performing. It's about returning to the state where you're truly available to yourself and to your partner. Now let's move forward. Because once you've aligned breath with body, it's time to integrate everything through a final practice. A 3-minute nightly stretch that not only supports circulation and flexibility, but silently deepens your capacity for intimacy while you sleep. So far, you've reawakened key systems in your body, from circulation to movement, breath to pelvic alignment. But before we end, there's one final practice that quietly ties everything together. A 3-minute nightly stretch that restores flow, relaxes tension, and supports intimacy while you sleep. Most people never consider what happens to their circulation during the night. But for men over 60, this matters more than you might think. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at maintaining blood flow to the lower body during rest. That's one reason so many older men wake up feeling stiff, numb in the legs, or with diminished morning response. One of my longtime patients, Thomas, 71, a retired park ranger, shared that he often woke up feeling like his body hadn't moved all night. No major medical issues, just a gradual sense of heaviness and loss of morning vitality. What we discovered was that prolonged stillness, combined with hip and spinal tension, was slowing blood return during sleep. The solution wasn't a pill. It was a simple, mindful habit, a 3-minute nighttime stretch designed to reset the lower body before bed. It's easy, gentle, and surprisingly effective. Here's how to do it. Lie on your back on a soft mat or your bed. Gently pull both knees toward your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins or behind your thighs, whichever is more comfortable. Breathe deeply. Feel the gentle stretch through your lower spine and hips. Hold for 30 seconds. Next, slowly release your legs back down until they're fully extended. Then stretch your arms overhead and your legs outward, reaching in opposite directions as if elongating your body. This full body extension decompresses the spine and lengthens the core. Hold for another 30 seconds. Now repeat the cycle 2 more times, knees to chest, full body stretch. Total time, 3 minutes. The key is to move slowly, stay relaxed, and let your breath guide each stretch. So why does this matter? Gentle pre-sleep movement like this activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting rest and circulation. It helps relax the lower back, release tension in the pelvic girdle, and improve overnight blood flow to reproductive organs and surrounding tissues. According to research published in Sleep Medicine Reviews, stretching before bed may also reduce nighttime urination frequency and support deeper sleep by calming muscular and neurological pathways. Men who adopt this stretch into their routine, like Thomas, often report stronger morning arousal, fewer nighttime awakenings, and a general sense of ease upon waking. I felt like my body actually used the night to heal, he told me. This final step is subtle, but deeply powerful. It completes a journey that began with restoring blood flow and ends with integrating movement, breath, and stillness. It's not just about function. It's about feeling whole again, even in rest. Now let's move forward, because the way you sleep isn't just recovery. It's the final chapter in how you rebuild confidence, strength, and connection. One breath, one movement, and your body is now ready to restore, to reconnect, and to respond, not just during the day, but while you sleep. What you've done here is more than watch a video. You've made a choice. A quiet, powerful choice to care for the parts of yourself that too many men overlook until they begin to fade. Let's be honest, aging changes us. Strength that once came effortlessly now asks for intention. Desire that used to arise without warning now asks for presence, nourishment, and, yes, circulation. But what I hope you felt throughout this journey is this. Decline is not a sentence, it's an invitation to rebuild, not just function, but confidence, not just movement, but meaning. Each of the practices you've learned, from seated pulse pumps to diaphragmatic breathing, from inner thigh activation to nightly stretches, has a single shared purpose: to bring flow back into your life. Flow of blood, flow of energy, flow of connection. These aren't just health hacks. They are acts of respect, signals to your body that you haven't given up on it. And when you treat your body that way, it listens, it responds, it heals. What I've seen time and again, in veterans and husbands and grandfathers, is this. Once circulation is restored, everything shifts. Sensation returns. Reactions sharpen. But even more importantly, behavior changes. Men begin to approach intimacy not with anxiety but with presence, because they remember what it's like to feel truly alive again. So today, I invite you, don't just listen, practice. Choose one movement. Feel what happens. Let your body surprise you, because you're not broken. You're rebuilding. If something in this message resonated with you, leave a 1 in the comments, or share your story. Your experience may be exactly what another man out there needs to hear. And if you found this helpful, I invite you, gently, to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Not out of obligation, but so I can keep showing up with content made for you, because your strength, your health, and your connection still matter, and they always will.